Hello, and welcome to the Big Wedding Planning Podcast, a show for anyone involved in planning a wedding. We want you to learn something, really learn something valuable, and be entertained at the same time. My name is Michelle Martinez.
And I'm Kelly McWilliams.
Yay!
Kelly A. McWilliams.
Oh, Kelly A. McWilliams.
Why? Because my husband's name is also Kelly.
I know. I love that.
So just putting that out there. Kelly A.
Kelly. What song is that from?
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers.
Back when we were
when we were kids watching it on cable television, channel 2. Yes, Kelly.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited. Like, this is like a moment.
Kelly,
like that one time I was on the Big Wedding Planning Podcast.
You're the Big Wedding Planning Podcast, and you're a co-host on Yawa, which is like, it's kind of a big deal, Kelly.
I feel like I listened to a few of them before, and I was like, okay, it's my turn. Like, I want a jacket for being on. Like, I feel like a big deal. So it's cool. I'm excited.
Kelly is like, I feel like we have a sisterhood because not only are you a wedding planner, but you also have a podcast, and like, we speak each other's language.
Fully speak each other's language. And I love that we both have the same kind of podcast where we are for engaged people.
Yes.
Or for anyone like planning a wedding.
Correct.
We have that in common.
And the angle of, okay, so what is the name of your podcast? Tell everybody.
It's This Versus That, Wedding Decisions with Kelly McWilliams.
So I love the angle of your podcast because first of all, you always have a co-host.
Always.
Right. Which is genius because it's really hard to talk to by yourself.
Now.
I know now. Christy left me. We got a divorce. No, we didn't get a divorce. We just parted ways. And it's about wedding decisions. It's actually, something that couples need to do on a consistent basis,
nonstop through the whole
planning
thing.
The wedding.
The whole thing.
I just recorded a video for YouTube yesterday. My husband's editing it as we speak, about the mistakes that a lot of people make when they like get engaged and they're like super excited. And there's like, that venue that you've always seen for years. And you're like, someday I'm going to get married there. Let's go see it, babe. Okay, let's go see it. And they're all excited and they're like drinking champagne and they're like, oh my God, let's go for it, before they know anything.
Oh, and it kind of breaks my heart when clients come to me in that situation where they've already made some decisions that like were detrimental and changed the scope of everything that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
So on my podcast, especially in season 1, we were trying to lay out the foundation of like, here are your big questions from the beginning. There's big decisions that you have to make. And when I say this versus that, it's like you kind of have this option or this option. And then for each option, we go through the pros and cons during the show. And it's totally conversational. We don't like have questions. Like, I have questions all the time because I feel like I know nothing half the time, even after 20 years. But it's like every decision that a couple has to make, we're trying to go through those on every episode, one decision every episode.
Yes.
And every time I think we can't talk about this for more than like 15 minutes. It's going to be a 15-minute episode. Girl, that has yet to happen. They're all like 35 to an hour. We just get talking. And anyway, so we help you to make decisions through every episode, which I love. I love the angle.
I love that. And so listen to Kelly's podcast. It's a really good one, This Versus That. And we actually, Christy and I were on it last year, episode, it looks like episode number 10, which was May 25th of 2021. Free versus paid planning resources. That was fun. And that was really nice of you to have us on and talk about our masterclass.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good because I mean, you and I both know there's so much to do in wedding planning. No one realizes walking into it how many decisions, and you don't have all the expertise, and not everyone can have a wedding planner. And so the class that you guys came up with, I just thought that was genius. I was so glad to have you on there and to help you guys introduce it to everybody.
Yes.
So yeah, dig
Yes.
in on that if you have the opportunity.
Dig
Folks.
in. Well, Kelly, on Yawa, as you know, we start off with a little housekeeping. First
Yep.
and foremost, I want to thank my new Patreon members, our patrons of the Big Wedding Planning Podcast. You all, like, seriously, I was like, what? Stepped it up this month. So I want to say thank you to Sarah K, Asia B, Liza Y, Gretchen L, Kendra H, and Shelby C. They are all donating money every month to help the Big Wedding Planning Podcast keep on going. And I am also going to tease, I did on last week's episode, that Patreon is going to be getting a huge boost in terms of the offerings that all of my patrons are going to receive as part of being members, including some exclusive series of podcast episodes that will not be available on the regular feed for free that everyone is listening to right now, but
How cool
only
is
to
that?
Patreon members. I'm super excited about this series. I'm starting editing this week. I've recorded quite a few of them already. It's going to be really awesome. I'm really excited. And I actually just scheduled my live Zoom cocktail hour with my Patreon members for this month. So if I were you, well, I mean, it's easy for me to say, but go to Patreon and become a member for the Big Wedding Planning Podcast. You can find it on the bigweddingplanningpodcast.com. Click on Patreon. Boom, boom.
Well,
Thank
Michelle,
you very much.
let me chime in here with you, because I have to say, I know what comes out of your regular episodes. So imagine getting more. Do you know what I mean? Like, that to me is like, if you're like already like scooping so much up, imagine I feel like every episode you're learning so much, and I mean, it's gonna make you less stressed out during your wedding planning, just like getting these little nuggets of information. But there's a potential that you're saving money because you're making better decisions. So more, and from a seasoned planner, I mean, what do you have to lose? A few dollars a month? You're not losing, you're winning. And you
Yeah.
get extra stuff. That's very cool. Congratulations. I think that's awesome.
Thank you, Kelly. You get it.
I get
You
it.
understand me.
Totally understand you. And I've been on the other side. I listen to lots of podcasts, and I'm so grateful for them.
Me too.
And I know how much work it is now. Oof. Good Lord, if people knew how much work it was to put these together. Okay. Sorry, off track there.
No, by all means, please. Okay. And another favorite part of Yawa's, because I get so excited, is reading some of the reviews that you beautiful humans have taken the time to go into Apple Podcasts, search the Big Wedding Planning Podcast, scroll down, click, write a review, and boom, I read it on the show. And it's very, very necessary. It helps people find the podcast. The more reviews that we have, the more people are going to find us, the bigger the audience, the more I can do with the show. Do you see what's happening here? It's like this trickle down effect, and it all goes back to you, my beautiful listeners. So thank you. Kelly, would you like to start reading?
Sure, I can do. I put my readers on.
Put your readers on.
I'm an old lady now.
Okay, me too.
Okay. Ready? Love this podcast. 5 stars from Katie Beth 1. This podcast has been such a pleasure to listen to. Michelle and Christy offer advice and information that you can't get elsewhere. As a lesbian bride, I truly appreciate how inclusive and affirming they are. I'll continue listening even after the wedding planning has come to an end. 10 out of 10 would recommend! Exclamation point.
Okay.
That
Katie,
was a good
Beth.
one.
I love it. And maybe it's Katie and Beth. I wonder if Beth is Katie's partner,
Oh,
fiance, or if she's just Katie Beth, or
she could
maybe
be
that's just,
Catherine Elizabeth,
oh,
and she had to
that
shorten it so
that's
that
a
people wouldn't.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Okay.
she's actually Katie Beth, or like you said, Katie's getting married to Beth.
Could be any one of these
It could be any one of
or
these.
none. But regardless, thank you. Katie Beth won. Thank you. By the way, there were a lot of reviews this month. I only read 4 because I don't want to bore you all, but I could read them forever. Okay, so keep them coming. I'll read the next one, short and sweet. Love it. From NHC 35, and the title is "You Found the One." 5 stars. If you only have time for one wedding podcast, this is the one. Extremely helpful, full of information and entertainment. Period. End of review.
Concise.
Thank you. Beautiful. I love it. To the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Danielle, 2712. 5 stars again, because that's what the way it should be done. Love this podcast. I am listening back to all the old episodes in order, and they are all very helpful. You get so many inside tips for free. This is a must listen, especially as a wedding ramp up post-COVID.
Ooh.
Yay. That was very nice of her.
Thank you very much, Danielle. You got a lot to listen to, because this one that we're recording right now that you're listening to is episode number 296.
Good gracious, girl, you've been doing this a long time.
I know, right? No wonder my voice is hoarse. Can you tell? Sometimes I can laugh at myself. Okay. The last one I'm going to read is from Ashley Urbanski. Title: Wedding Planning Made Easy and Fun. 5 stars. I have been listening to this podcast off and on for a few years. Well, before I was engaged, because I always thought that wedding planning would be such an exciting job. What do you think, Kelly? Is it an exciting job? Is wedding planning an exciting job? Right now, maybe not this year.
On wedding day, it's an exciting job. No, I take it back. I feel like there's 2 times where it's exciting. It's exciting when the clients first reach out to us and they say yes to us. Like that.
That's exciting. Yes.
I love that part.
Yeah.
I love that. I know there's going to be a new relationship. There's like more people in my
little
family.
Engagement.
Yes. It's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
Like someone proposed.
Yeah.
I proposed.
Yeah.
They said yes.
Yes.
And now we get to have
the contract
or whatever. Yes.
You know, you're part of the family. OMG. I never even thought about that, Kelly.
Yeah.
It's so like we have multiple relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good way to look at it. Let's get engaged.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let me continue. That was good. Okay. Now that I am engaged, I can proudly say that I've been slowly planning my future wedding with ease and peace of mind, because I was prepared for how to start and work through the process. This podcast has made wedding planning so much fun for me, and I gain valuable advice from each episode I listen to. Thank you, Michelle, for doing this podcast. It has made something that could be stressful into a stress-free activity, because I literally have an expert in my pocket. Your advice is invaluable. Okay. That made me really happy. Thank you very much. I just got little tingles. Thank you so much. It's so lovely. That's really nice.
That is really nice. Michelle, did you know that people can also, I can't recall if they can review, but they can give you stars now on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify.
Yeah.
Which is newer. Like in the last 6 months, I feel like they added that
new.
In there.
Yeah, it is new. They can go on Spotify and leave stars, and so at least rate. So that's another
that's
great.
what they could rate you there. That's right. That's right. So if you're because not everyone's an Apple Podcast listener. Like
I know, not everybody has an iPhone.
Yeah,
I know.
So if you don't have that option, that's another place they could give you stars, because you deserve all the stars.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. Mm-hmm. You do too. We're in this together. I also finally claimed the Big Wedding Planning Podcast on Google. So I think that I can also get Google reviews. Mm-hmm. Well, no, but even just like on Google, you know how websites.
Oh, like Google My Business.
Exactly. There you go. There you go.
Yes.
I did that too. So there's just all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. let's get into it. Let's get
Are we gonna
into
Yawa now?
Yawa.
That's Yawa.
All right. We have lots of really great questions. We have a lot actually.
There
And
are.
whew, we just got to go. We just got to go get into this. Okay. Kelly, do you want to read the first question? And this is going to be
Sure.
good because we're going to answer, two different wedding planners. Kelly's a destination wedding planner mostly because you're in Florida,
Yeah.
right? So you're
Yeah.
getting people flying in constantly.
Constantly. And
Yeah.
we're completely opposite sides of the state,
Yeah.
of the country.
Yes, we
And
are.
I also do them internationally. So I'm
Oh,
like
shit.
really, yeah.
Oh, right. You
Most
go
of
to
them
Mexico a lot. You go like,
Mexico. The last one was in where was Dominican Republic.
ooh.
So yeah. But anyway, so we have really different perspectives, I have a
Right.
feeling. So
Go read it.
okay. You want me to read number one?
Read number one. Actually,
Okay.
and you know what? They say really beautiful things at the top of this, but we should probably go to the
After.
question starting with I am originally.
Okay, deal. Get rid of that page. Okay. I'm originally from East Germany, but have been living in Australia and New Zealand for the past 10 years. Yes, I have a weird mix of an Australian German accent. My fiance, who is Kiwi, and I have been together for 4 years and we got engaged last year. We are currently planning our wedding for July 23rd in Germany. We are hoping that the COVID situation has settled by then and both of our families will be able to celebrate together. We've already rented our venue, which is a beautiful Mason house in the area where I grew up. My fiance and I booked it for the entire weekend, which gives us enough time to hang out with all of our loved ones. The venue can host and accommodate 80 people, which is great for us because we didn't want a huge wedding. They also have an outstanding restaurant, which will cater the wedding and provide the wedding cake. I am so relieved that we have all of it included and that we don't have to worry about the logistics. I am dealing with their event manager, who will also be our on-day of coordinator. I know you guys have your doubts about that, but I think it will be okay since ceremony and reception are all in the same venue and she's an efficient German. Haha. The only thing I'm a little worried about is the language barrier. Obviously, a lot of the younger generation speaks English, but important people like my mom and grandparents can't. You had a lot of great episodes on your podcast about multicultural weddings and how to make people feel included, but I was wondering if you have more tips about how to include people that can't communicate in two languages. One idea we had was to have a screen and a projector in the back, so when we are holding speeches, guests will be able to read the translation of the speech. And obviously little cards so they can learn the greetings in each other's languages. We will have a bilingual ceremony, and I will get some of my friends and family to help with the translating on the day, but I also don't want to put everyone to work. I've been to so many multicultural weddings where there has been a massive divide between the two families because they couldn't communicate properly with each other. We really want, let me flip the page here. We really want everyone to have a great time and to get to know each other. That is our biggest priority. So any tips would be really appreciated. This was the longest email I've ever written, so thank you for reading, and I can't wait to hear back from you. Warmest regards from New Zealand, Luis.
Okay, Kelly, I want to hear your take on this because I know you do a lot of destination weddings, but are you doing a lot of weddings with people who speak more than one language?
Yes, and I'll tell you what. In the United States, I feel like this is the only place where we don't learn from childhood to speak multiple languages. Over in Europe, it's an entirely different situation. Anyone who's ever been there realizes you go over there thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to communicate. Everybody knows English over there. They know 2 or 3 languages each. So when I am, having my international weddings, I am finding that the majority of people can speak to each other because they grew up in Europe. And so they might speak Italian and French and German, or Spanish and French and English, but there's actually a lot of flexibility. But within the States, not so much,
Mm-hmm.
not so
Mm-hmm.
much.
Mm-hmm.
And I only speak one language.
Mm-hmm.
So quite often when I go to my weddings, if there are some of their guests that don't speak English, I have to break out that Google Translate. That's my best friend.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I would 100% recommend
Yeah.
on your phone. It works
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So,
But I think so. I'm Louise, by the way, it's so exciting to get email from someone in another country. It's from New
mhm.
Zealand. She wrote us from New Zealand. And by the way, her fiance, when she says they're Kiwi, that's actually a term for New Zealanders. I just Googled it.
Okay, because I wasn't sure. I had a
Yeah. I was like,
feeling it
wait
was
a
like,
minute. What's
yeah.
that mean? Uh so thank you so much for writing and listening from so far. I think everything, first of all, I want to recognize that you are being so thoughtful to your guests.
Truly.
And it's so important. And the only I don't have honestly, I don't do a lot of weddings of people who have such mixed languages.
Mhm.
You know, I'm doing weddings in the US constantly in the Bay Area. Yes. Do a lot of people speak different languages? Yes. But for the most part, everybody can understand. I personally, when my husband and I got married 20 years ago, I had a lot of family from Mexico. My husband is from Mexico City. Jose Luis is from Mexico City. His mother does not speak English. His grandparents, when they were living at the time, did not speak English. They all flew over. The one thing we did, well, actually, there were two things we did. Jose Luis designed our invitations. He's, that's what he does for a living. He's
Mhm.
creative. So he did them in both English and Spanish. The other thing we did was our ceremony was at a church in the Mission District in San Francisco. Our grandparents really wanted that. We did the Catholic Church. And the priest was Latino. And so he did the ceremony in English and Spanish. I mean, he literally would translate,
Yeah.
which was awesome.
Mhm.
We had readings, 3 readings, 2 of them in English, 1 of them in Spanish by my father-in-law. I just remembered this because I just saw my wedding video, Kelly. This is so exciting. My cousin got my wedding video transferred from VHS.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Yeah, because we got
To
married then. How many years have you guys been married?
20. It was 2001 when we got married. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen it I probably saw it once. Anyway, so we did that. We translated in English and Spanish the ceremony because that was super important. And then of course, because we had so many Spanish speakers in the family, like toasts were done, some of
Mhm.
them in English and some of them in Spanish. I think that the steps you're taking that you mentioned on this email are great. I don't know about doing the screen and projector in the back.
Yeah, that felt a little awkward to me when I read that part. Like
Mhm.
I don't know how you would, I guess in that sense, you'd have like every toast or speech would have to be pre-written and like not recorded, but kind of like, like on Saturday Night
Yeah.
Live with the cue cards or whatever, like I don't know that it would feel quite as personal.
Yeah.
I think for the weddings where we have done that, we've had it where they did it in 2 different languages. Like, just like you said,
Yeah.
someone said it in Spanish and then someone said it, or the same person said it in English or something
Right.
like that. I think that, yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
the translation at the bottom, the subtitles in the background seems a little odd to me. I just don't know
Yeah.
if it would be really genuine feeling.
Yeah. I don't understand how that might work. Unless somebody's typing super duper fast, or we
Oh,
know
I was thinking they
exactly.
had it like they had to submit it in advance and it
Well,
would be like
that would
running.
be the other option.
Yeah.
I'm not, I have seen it translated and I'm not mad at it. Like, I feel like if you want people to feel included and to understand, it's okay to have a translator there speaking after every couple sentences and repeating it in the other
Yeah.
language. I
I think it's
honestly,
thoughtful.
I think it's really thoughtful. It might take a
Mhm.
little longer, but I think it's lovely.
Yeah.
And aside from from the ceremony and the toasts, and any announcements, people are just going to communicate within their own little groups. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they're all going to talk and they're going to interact and it's going to be lovely. So I can't really think of anything else,
Yeah. And
Kelly.
I don't think that there's, she said that she felt like there was a huge divide at the one where she went to that was like that. But I almost hate to say it, but it's almost kind of like that anyway, unless
Mhm.
like, because people, you're going to hang out with your friends, like everybody, that's just natural that you would do that. Where you come together is on the dance floor where there's not really talking happening,
Yes. Yes.
So, and then like maybe during cocktail hour, if you do want to go say hello to someone, I think those, what she was saying, like those little cards, maybe you could do some kind of fun card that you hand out, at, when they're all, that goes with the invitation, like here's some quick, things, that you could bring with you, or you hand it like maybe some things at the back of the ceremony program that are like, this is how you say, and put
Oh,
them in both
cute.
words,
That'd be cute.
that might be something to
Actually,
do.
Kelly, like, here's how you say congratulations in this language and this language. That's actually a really cute idea. And they could like carry it around
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It's
like,
something.
you know,
Mhm.
so that's kind of a fun idea. And that goes along with those experiential ways of designing things, like, have you've probably seen like those conversation starter cards that some
Yes.
people put at place
Yes.
settings. Like
Yes.
that's cute.
Yeah. Or like on the like the high boys at your cocktail hour, you could have little cute cards that in like in stands or something that again have little quotes in both languages, or something like that, just
Yeah.
to again honor both sides. But yeah, I, I almost think that you're overthinking it,
Exactly. And
you
that happens
know
a lot. That happens a
and
lot.
because I think most people naturally are going to hang out with people that they already know, that they're excited to celebrate with them. It's not that they're avoiding anyone, it's just where you really come together are is up on the dance floor. So I don't think you should be as worried as I have a feeling that you are
It's
about
body
this.
language. It's the universal
Yeah.
body language. Yes. Okay, very good. Love that.
Mhm.
Question number 1, done. Let's move on to the
Done.
next. I will read it. Here we go. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for all the information you share on your podcast. I am not yet engaged, but will be by summertime. Whoop, whoop. I wanted to create a budget so we knew how much to save and got deep into planning, or as we get deep into planning. I love parties and planning, but know that I will need a lot of help. I am considering a full planning, almost certainly getting a month of wedding coordinator. But our budget is not huge. We are hoping to stay in the $25,000 to $35,000 range for a 50-person wedding. Is that too small a budget for a wedding planner around the Washington, D.C. area? Also, if you know any planners in the area, I would love some recommendations. This is
Okay.
good. This is good. And I love that you're thinking of this. My God, girl, like you are already like steps
For sure.
ahead. Also, her name is Kelly. Okay.
Got all of that.
Kelly, just
Mhm.
like you, Kelly. And your husband, Kelly.
Yep.
So I did do a quick answer on email. I think this is actually a really healthy budget. I don't know any DC planners. Do you know any DC
I
planners?
do. I
Oh,
do. So there's Janice at Bellwether Events,
okay.
and Sarah Bollicky is Bellanote. They're both
Oh,
DC.
Bellinate, I've heard
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those are two like right off the top of my head that I can think of.
I knew you would know
In DC. And
someone.
I know other what's her name of her company? I can't recall. I'll send it to you then you can send it over to what was her
Okay.
name?
Wonderful. I love that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Kelly. Mhm.
Okay. So the other thing is I did a search whenever, I don't know how you do that. Well, actually, Kelly, when
Mhm.
you're doing a wedding in another, outside of your area that you're very
Mhm.
familiar with, how do you
Mhm.
figure out what kind of starting wedding budget, realistic wedding budget would be in that area? Or do you even need to? Do you only do certain budget weddings?
I call a wedding planner friend in the area
There you
and
go.
straight up ask and say, hey, I have someone that's getting married there. I got 75 people. How much should I be looking at?
You call a
And
friend.
yep, call a friend.
Okay.
I mean, that's the best way to do it. You can Google it and you can do all the work up front and start calling and making all those calls to find out.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of work,
Uh-huh.
but that's, I mean, I feel like you and I as planners have the easy way out and that we know
Well, we
people.
do. We do.
Yeah.
If we know people, or I would call you
Yeah.
and say, who do you know? Um,
So
but
I feel like this is a hard question for us to answer because we're in totally different regions. And I know for a fact what people pay here for things is not what they're paying in DC. And is
correct.
100% not what they're paying where you're at.
No.
So it's really, I would say it would be a disservice for us to say, yeah, that's going to work there. Just knowing the little bit that I know about that area, I have so many clients that come here because it's less expensive.
Yeah, it's not a cheap area. It's
It
one of
is
the
not a
big,
cheap area.
metropolitan areas, which
Yes.
means it's going to be pricey.
And DC is one of the highest. So I'm it's a good portion of my clients. And I can tell you, we're not on the low end here, and they are much higher there. So I'm thinking, and like I said, I really feel like you have to do your research that your budget, if you're for having a full service planner there, would be really stretched, very thin, very thin.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna be might be best served with a partial planning or day of to make your budget go the longest way in the DC area, just because of cost. But there's what do they call it? The greater DMV. If you like
I don't
I think it's
know.
Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or District, Maryland and Virginia. I don't know. But that whole area, I think if you go like just outside, did she say she already had a venue booked?
No, she's not even engaged yet.
Oh, okay. So I think if she thinks a little bit outside of that direct DC pocket, she might find a lot of ways to stretch her budget out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would I mean, I feel like you could just like truly follow some of the wedding planners on Instagram, send them a quick DM and say, hey, is this a reasonable number?
I
Because they
know.
can
I
tell
would
you
say that.
really
I would
easily.
say if you were DMing me and be like, hey, I have a super quick question. My budget is 50. Or rather, 25 to 35. I have 50-person wedding. Is that a realistic budget, including a wedding planner? I will say that my hack without calling wedding planners, is to go to the weddingreport.com. Have you been to the weddingreport.com?
Yes.
Okay. The weddingreport.com does consistent research. And if you input the metropolitan area that you're getting married in, they will give you their stats on the previous year, how many weddings there were, what the budgets were. Now, it's kind of, it's going to be super low because most weddings are actually lower budget, and who knows if they're getting all the correct information, but at least it gives you some sort of an idea to start with, and know that the dollar amount you get there is going to be such a basic wedding. Okay.
It's basic. Those
I'm talking
numbers are
like
basic on there.
there is no upgrade of anything. Okay.
Yes. It's like where you start from.
It's like where you very, very, very start from, and you definitely need to build on that number. But when I did that, I got an indication that her budget, and probably closer to the 35K with a wedding planner, should be good. I don't know how much DC planners charge, the ones that you're recommending specifically, Kelly. I can always speak to what I charge, and my pricing is right on my website. Not everybody does that, but it seems to me that it is a doable budget, but you've got to do your research.
Right. And I think that, like I said, doing a quick question, like one question off to some, wedding planners that
It's a
are
great idea
on Instagram, DM, say, I'm not going to bug you about 15 questions. If one question is this
super
number
quick,
reasonable,
hit me up.
I would give that answer in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's an easy question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good question though.
This
She's
is good,
smart
right?
girl.
Yes, she
Yeah,
is.
she's
She's
smart
getting her
girl.
shit on. Everybody that listens to a wedding planning podcast, knowing that they're going to be getting engaged and starts the process now and getting it into their mindset that like right now, but from listening, she knows that she needs to figure out her budget and priorities. She knows that she needs to like take wedding planning breaks when needed, that the world does not revolve around wedding planning, yada, yada, yada. She's already getting in the right mindset. So I love when people listen in anticipation of being engaged. I think it's fantastic. I think it's very smart. Good for you. All right.
Move on to number 3.
Read number 3, Callie.
Okay. My fiance and I are getting married on Sunday, July 3rd of this year in the Hudson Valley area of New York. Ooh. We are traveling an hour and 20 minutes to get to the venue, and most of our guests will have the same travel time or more. We sent our save the dates out last November, so everyone has the basic info that the wedding will be during a holiday weekend. And we've shared details about hotel accommodations on our website, which was also included on the save the date. My questions are, when do we send out the invites, and when should we make the RSVP date? We will need to give our final head count to the venue 2 weeks prior to the wedding, but I think some wiggle room would be good since we're doing online RSVPs and anticipating some of the quote unquote older guests have some issues with this. Also, the last date to reserve within our room block is May 22nd, so that's quite a few weeks before her wedding. And I do not want people to forget to book their room or not have enough time to think about if they should reserve a room. Love you guys. Thanks, Angelica.
Okay.
I wonder what your answer is going to be to this. I have a feeling we're going to have different ones.
Okay. Well, I will read what I emailed her. Mail them out 9 to I usually say 8 to 10 weeks. That might have been a typo. 8 to 10 weeks in advance. So maybe send them out on April 30th so they get to everyone's home that first week of May. Make your RSVP by date June 5th. This is a July 3rd wedding. This is 4th of July weekend, by the way, but they already got their save the dates. They already have their save the dates. We got to remember that. So June 5th would be 4 weeks ahead of time, which is kind of early, but I think probably not in your world, Kelly. That way you have plenty of time to get in touch with anyone who had not RSVP'd by that deadline. And that will also allow you to make your deadline with your venue, which is 2 weeks prior and make your deadline of 2 weeks to the venue. Regardless of your RSVP date, you need to send out reminders to people that the last day to book a room under the discounted hotel room block rate is May 22nd. That's another date, and you need to remind people. I would also recommend you reach out to the hotel in early May and ask for a rooming list. A lot of people don't know that you can do this. You can call your salesperson and say, can you give me the most updated rooming list so I can see a list of everyone who has booked their rooms. And then that way I know, oh my God, Aunt Mary still hasn't booked her room. I knew this was going to happen. Let me call her real quick. She needs to book her room. Boom.
Amen.
Okay, Kelly.
I do 12 weeks mail outs.
Okay.
For the invitations.
Why?
Well, one, majority of my weddings are destination.
Yes.
So it does include almost always everyone traveling. More so now than ever, everything takes longer. Like mail takes longer to get places. RSVPs take longer to get back to you in the mail. Like we're ordering things and they're delayed. So I have stretched everything out as of recent to get all of this done. Also, I have found because of COVID, there's a lot of hotels and things like that aren't giving room blocks necessarily anymore, where they're no, they can give us your name, but they're not necessarily giving full on room blocks like they used to. Yeah. A lot of, I think because there's the hospitality industry was kind of, it shrunk.
Having a tough time.
There's not as many people, So I recommend to my clients that invitations go out 10 to 12 weeks in advance when they have guests traveling, which she is there in that case.
Yeah.
Save the dates a year in advance if possible. I love that she has a website and that they're doing the online RSVP. So she'll
Yes.
have an early idea of who's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing where I think that you and I differ quite a bit. I like to have the RCPs at least 6 weeks in advance.
Okay.
Especially because, here's where I love wiggle room. I love padding, but I love to be able to, if you're going to be printing out those day of details, to have all of those numbers and all of those things, so you know how many things you're going to be purchasing well in advance that have to be ordered. Like, okay, if you want to get, those programs printed from a stationer, give them that little extra time to get those printed so you're not in the rush in the last 4 weeks to get things sent off and ordered and come back, because everything is being delayed right now. So that little bit of extra time, also it's to hit before your hotel rooms that are in a block are taken away from you, because like they give you the release dates.
Yeah.
And typically that's right at 30 days.
Yeah.
So if you can beat that by saying RCP 6 weeks in advance, hopefully they're going to go and make those reservations then, and not have to deal with, sorry, the block is gone or has expired and now you have to pay $200 more, or there's just no more rooms left. So, and that does happen. So I think I tend to push about 2 weeks longer than you are. But if you're having a very local wedding, I think you're right on top of things.
So this is Angelica, I think that you should go with Kelly's answer, because hers is a destination wedding. She herself, she and her partner are traveling an hour and 20 minutes to the venue, and most of her guests are, and let's not forget, this is a holiday weekend.
That's another thing.
It's July 3rd.
Yeah.
On the Sunday. So I would go with Kelly's advice over mine. And I'm really, you're the perfect person to give this answer.
I don't think you could be anything more, but just that much less stressed out without having that rush. Like you won't have that rush in there. And it just gives you that wiggle room and padding for all the things that could come up with destination weddings.
Okay. But so again, you want her to send them 12 weeks in advance, right?
I think 12 weeks from her wedding, especially because it's a holiday weekend. Like people make plans, unless she wants a smaller discount. And so, if you wait a little bit longer, maybe they've already made their plans.
Well, okay. So, Angelica, you're going to hear this episode on the 30th of March. So hopefully you can get those invitations printed out and sent out quick. Kelly, you're suggesting probably sending them out the weekend of April 10th or that week of. And then that's going to give people advance notice. And I also this new trend, and maybe you've seen it, Kelly, of putting a QR code on the invitations, where the QR codes that we use at restaurants. Cool. Oh my God. Claire from Why Didn't Calligraphy blew my mind a few weeks ago when she was telling me about this. People are generating QR codes like we use at restaurants. Yeah. You scan it right on your phone. It takes you directly to the wedding website or wherever the RSVPs need to happen. And it's amazing. So I'll put a link to that QR code on the show notes, but just Google it, how to make a QR code. I think there's a small fee for it, but it's way faster for your guests. And everybody's used to it now because of COVID. When we were going to restaurants, we had to do these QR codes.
QR codes are amazing. I use them for so many things. I never thought to do that, to use
Isn't
it to like bring you to an RSVP. 100%.
Instead of like https www.kelly and Michelle / blah 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 wedding. Like,
aren't you a Zola person?
Oh yes.
Yeah, like the Zola, like it's a long address.
Long URL. Sometimes you can get a really simple URL, but regardless, QR code, girl. I'm
totally behind this.
Yeah, do it. All right. We're moving along here. Number 4. Hi, Michelle. This is Ashley. I'm a big fan of the podcast. I've been a listener since I first got engaged of August 2021, and I've been working my way through this backlog. My fiance and I are planning a kind of non-traditional wedding. We're not doing things like cake cutting. We're not doing any dancing. We don't have a wedding party, and we're kind of thinking small, like a 50-person wedding. Loving all this, by the way. We're having our wedding at an outdoor venue in Washington. It's another Washington called McWilliams. And the location is basically like a patio. So because we're not planning on dancing for the reception, I was wondering what type of things we could do to keep our guests entertained. We have a DJ and we're on a pretty tight budget. So we're just kind of planning on having ambient music, and we're hoping to have some maybe like table games, something fun for our guests to do. But we're not really planning on having any of those, quote, micro events that you have talked about before, like the cake cutting and speeches. So what would you suggest that we do to keep our guests entertained and kind of provide structure for the evening? Thank you. Kelly's all,
Well, because I'm going to tell you what, I think she's fighting it too. She's having a dinner party wedding. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't feel like you have to add to that. Like there's something to be said. Like when you have people to your home, a lot of times you'll have the cocktail hour before, eat some, hummus or whatever before you sit down to dinner. And then you sit down at dinner and you have a great dinner and conversation. And then you go home. Yeah. And those are great parties. Yeah. And if you happen to have a ceremony beforehand and then the cocktail hour, I don't know that you necessarily need to feel like you have to add to it if it's a great dinner party. And with 50 guests, maybe it could just be that you have your ceremony, your cocktail hour, your dinner, and then you maybe have an after dinner dessert party where it's more like the cocktail hour where you are just mingling, rather than trying to substitute things in for the cake cutting and the toasts and all of those things. Just make it more of a natural flow like you would any other really wonderful dinner party. I don't know, because I haven't, for as many weddings as I've done in 20 years, I can't think of one where we tried to do that, where we tried to substitute for those traditional protocols. Instead, we let it be what it was going to be. So I had a hard time with that question. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting this question more and more over the course of the past year. I think just, non-traditional is just lovely, and I'm all about it. And I'm hearing from more and more listeners, and we've always been like, you do you. Yep. Micro events are something we always recommend just to kind of keep things flowing. And the easy ones are what she suggested that she is not doing. Right. I have had clients who don't dance, like your episode that you had just recently on your podcast. Yeah. And so I understand it. A couple of things. And I agree, Kelly, don't force things. Yeah. The one thing I don't know is how many hours. Did she mention how many hours this event is going to happen? We don't know.
We don't know. And that's another thing. Like, don't feel like, you're already gone by the wayside of all of the protocols. Yeah. But you don't necessarily have to have a 4-hour wedding just because that's what the typical DJ package is. Right. It can be 2 hours. I mean, if it could be the 1 hour for the ceremony, prelude, and then the ceremony. Yeah. And then you could have a cocktail hour, and then you could have a 2-hour dinner. Yeah. You have a 5-course dinner. Or
this is the perfect wedding to have a nice long dinner. Yes. And like focus on food. Yes. But who knows if she's mentioning they're on a pretty tight budget. So and we all know food is like, the catering is one of the most expensive, parts. Yeah. I think rather than focusing on micro events, focus on experience. I think that people love a good slideshow. Okay. That
Oh
could be
yeah.
a micro event that
That would
perhaps,
be a good one.
you know, if you could put, and that's something you could do yourself, put together photos of you and your partner when you were kids, photos of your parents, weddings, loved ones, deceased family members that you want to honor. People love a good slideshow.
Yeah.
So that
I
would be
agree with you
one thing
there.
you could do inexpensively. I mean, you will need to project it somehow. And so maybe, renting some audio visual equipment, or somebody, might have a projector, who knows? That's one idea. Another idea is those we mentioned a couple questions ago, that you can buy cards on Amazon that promote conversation and put them at the place settings. And we have an episode number 235. It's called Weddings Designed with Experience in Mind. Julie Comfort was our guest. And Julie Comfort is all about designing weddings around feelings and experiences rather than, aesthetics, if that makes sense. And so I would recommend going to her website, theexperientialwedding.com. She even has like a free, 16 tips and ideas for a more magical wedding that you can download. But that might be a good resource for you. Yeah.
You
Go
know
ahead.
what? Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because she said table games. And I think in my head, I was thinking something different. Do you think she means like games at your table you play with the people you're sitting with?
I think that's what she means.
Oh, because you know what I was thinking in my head the whole time?
What?
Like lawn games, like cornhole and ping pong and things like that.
That's what most people do.
Yeah.
I mean, what about a freaking, just bear with me here. I'm thinking really, I don't know what her design is for the wedding, but like, bingo.
Bingo's fun.
Bingo's fun, and it's super like vintage. Yes. And you can rent the freaking thing that you
spin it.
You spin,
and the balls fly
and
around.
you can have some really cute little fun gifts. I mean, that might be kind of fun to get everybody participating, and the DJ could call out bingo.
Yeah. Are they still dancing at her wedding?
They're not dancing. They're not dancing, but the DJ is going to be providing ambient
background music. Yeah.
I think bingo, a lot of people are like, is she fucking nuts? I think bingo would be super fun and very vintage. And like everybody knows how to play bingo.
And you get into it when like you can get, not that you can get competitive because it's kind of luck of the draw, but it's fun. Like think about the last time you played.
I don't know the last time I played, but you see it on TV and movies and you're like, that looks kind of fun.
Yeah.
And you could buy all the supplies probably on Amazon or whatever.
I have a bingo night now.
I kind of want to have a bingo night. Can we do virtual bingo? We could do virtual bingo.
Yes, you 100% could do virtual bingo.
Oh my God, Kelly, we have to do this. We have to figure this out. I think it'll be fun.
I think it'd be very fun.
I also want to have bingo at a wedding. If anybody does this, please DM us or email.
Yeah, let us know.
I'm dying
to see that. Another thing I was just thinking about that they could incorporate, if they just want to kind of break it up a little bit, might cost a little bit of money. If you have some wiggle room there, or maybe there's like some guests that want to go in and like give it as a gift, but you could have like a little entertainment during the party where like you have a vocalist come in and or musicians, like a violinist come or a keyboardist come in and just do like a pianist play some really cool tunes, like, but do it like everyone sits and watches, you know what I mean? Like, and or it maybe if you have something, did she say if she was outside or not? Now I don't remember. I don't think so. Like again, it really depends on budget, but if you want to put some,
it's an outdoor, it's an outdoor venue.
You're gonna put some things into like the entertainment, then I've had at weddings where we had like Cirque du Soleil performers that did kind of cool things, or the fire people not on fire, but
not on fire. Nobody on fire per se.
Sticks, they throw the sticks and stuff,
right?
And then they're on fire and they spin. There's you can do that kind of entertainment, which I think would be kind of cool as well if you're outside. But yeah, I think it maybe bring in entertainment if you have that.
Entertainment is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. I was actually on Zoom the other day with one of our actually, I think I was talking to somebody for that new series on Patreon, and she's not doing dancing. And I was telling her about, I've had at a few weddings that I've done, is a drag queen come in
Oh,
and
yes.
perform.
Yeah.
People freaking love it. Okay. It's amazing.
They're so fun.
They're so fun. And so they're such great performers. So that's another idea, but I'm trying to think budget. You would pay a performer. Perhaps you have it in your budget. Perhaps it's not expensive. Look into it. Such a great question. I'm getting it so much more often. Side note, and Veronica, you probably need to cut this, but this was a listener voicemail. So I want to say thank you so much for leaving that voicemail. I love when people call in, leave their questions via voicemail. I love hearing your voice. And that number is 415-723-1625. Call anytime and leave a voicemail. I love, 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 love it.
Your last Yawa had one in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
I
so
thought
good,
that
right?
was really cool. Yeah. It was fresh, and I loved it. I loved hearing someone's actual voice there.
It's really, they're like, oh, you're a real person.
Yeah. I mean, they're all real, but it just feels even more real.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay. So question 5.
Question number 5. Kelly, why don't you read this one?
Okay. I'm going to go right to her questions.
Okay.
My fiance Doug and I are having a weekend style summer camp wedding. Guests will arrive at 5:30 on Friday for a barbecue and then leave on Sunday at 11 after brunch. There's a full day of activities planned on Saturday, lake activities, ropes courses, etc. And our ceremony is scheduled for 6:30. The wedding is this June, so it'll still be daylight. I do not want to miss many of the daytime activities on Saturday, but I know I need to set some time aside for my hair and makeup. My plan is to start getting ready at 3:30 with a close group of friends, and then do a first look and pictures at 5:30. I have planned a wine class for the guests that starts at 3:30 that majority of our guests will attend. I'm a professional wine buyer and have lots of wine professional friends.
Ooh.
So I've enlisted them to do the class. I do not mind missing the wine class and intentionally scheduled it at this time to start getting ready. So my question, is this a reasonable timeline for that portion of events, or do I need to allocate more time for hair, makeup, and pictures? I know many timelines have the bride starting to get ready 6+ hours before. Side note, I am not planning on hiring a hair and makeup artist, and mostly because of the tight timeline.
Oh,
okay. And then she's a second question. Do I read?
Well, let's address this one first.
Yeah. Okay.
So no professional hair and makeup artist.
So she's doing her own, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I guess everyone's doing their own.
First look is at 5:30, and she's saying to start getting ready at 3:30 with a close group of friends. So I think we would have been asking questions in real time here, right, Kelly? We would have been like, are you doing your own hair and makeup? Is somebody doing it for you? Like, I know you're not hiring anybody, but is a friend doing this? Like, that's very important to know.
Question. I am guessing from this that she's doing her own hair and makeup, and same with all of her friends, which means they already know how to do their own hair and makeup. So it shouldn't take as long as, where she mentioned 6+ hours. The 6+ hours, guys, is most likely because they are, you have like 2 or 4 stylists there, and one person's going into the chair at a time. So that's why something would take 6 hours, not that it takes anyone 6 hours, right?
Right.
To do hair makeup. So, I mean,
if it's a humongous ass wedding party. If you got like 10,
no.
Yeah.
If you've got 2, one hair artist, hairstylist, and one makeup artist,
right?
Only one person can be in the chair at the time. Gotcha. And that's why it might take 6 hours.
Right.
But if everyone is going to a room and doing their own, this is like doing it at home, except for like maybe being a little more detailed about it. So maybe it takes you an hour and a half?
It depends, because look, when you get a group of girls together, even my best friend Jenny and I, when we're together and we're getting ready, we're like talking, we're laughing. What are you good? We're walking over here, we're having a drink. 2 hours could go by really quick in a room full of girls getting ready. Okay.
True.
Well,
that's what she's got set up.
That's what she's got set up. And
Mhm.
if that's what you want to do, and that you all are going to be like, focused, and you're doing first look at 5:30, that's kind of tight because it takes a while to get dressed.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I think where it's tight in there is from when she's finished getting hair and makeup to when she's starting and she wants to do first look in between there.
Yeah.
So because she also has, if the ceremony is at 6:30, it's not like you do your first look and you just look, you get your pictures and you walk to like you're at the ceremony.
No, you can't. You have to go hide. You have to go in a room.
Yeah. And get like everyone, like if there's girls that are also in the wedding party with you or guys in the wedding party with you, then you're just going to need more time there. That's where I think the biggest chunk is.
Yeah. Are you only doing first look? Or are you going to do some other pre-ceremony photos with your wedding party? Because in that case, because by 6:00, if your ceremony starts at 6:30, you're tucked away somewhere at 6:00, period.
Exactly.
Guests are starting to, and actually all her guests are on site, so they maybe have seen her, but regardless, like you need to be tucked away at 6:00, touching up, makeup, using the restroom, having some chill downtime, getting ready,
refresh. Yeah.
Right. Mentally and physically. So I would bump all of this up by an hour. I would try to start getting ready at 2:30, wouldn't you?
100%. Absolutely. But I understand what she's saying. Like she doesn't want to miss all the stuff beforehand.
I know.
But it's your wedding day. And I mean, it sounds like you've got the whole weekend. And I think that's one of the best things about doing a wedding like this is that you have had the opportunity to spend the time with your guests on Friday night at your barbecue.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, did she say she was doing something on Sunday?
No, they're having a brunch and then everybody leaves at 11, which is perfect.
So you're going to get to spend, quality time with everybody. I think we're on the same page here that you do need a little bit more time to get ready on your wedding day. I would
start getting ready at 2:30. I would also, if you're only doing a first look, I think that's fine. As long as your first look's actual location where you're doing it, the spot that's happening at is like just a few, like really close on the same property to where you're getting ready.
Yeah.
If you are going to do pre-ceremony photos with your wedding party, I would actually bump that time up to 5:00 and then start getting ready at 2:00.
Yeah. So you know what she needs to do? She needs to have a chat with her photographer.
Yes, Kelly. Yes.
Because the photographers, depend and also the kind of photographer. So because, if it's a more candid photographer, they don't take as long to set up those photographs. But if it's one of these fine art photographers, it is a photo shoot. It's going to take much longer to get those done.
Yeah.
So I think a fine tuning meeting with your photographer is going to go a long way about their expectations on how much time they need. And then your expectations on how much time you want to spend taking those pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with who?
Yeah. Very good. And just Veronica, cut this out. Kelly, we're going to just finish with the very last of her questions.
Sure.
Because this is going to be too long of an episode and I'll push these other questions to a next Yawa. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the second question from this listener is a great one. It's about insurance. We are required to have limited liability insurance, and our venue will allow us to add ourselves to their policy for the weekend for $350, not dollars. Should we get additional insurance in case anything happens to our other vendors or the venue itself? It sounds like the insurance that we are purchasing through the venue just covers if something happens to our guests during the wedding. I appreciate your time. COIs love that insurance. Well, I mean, we should talk through this. Yeah.
I think insurance is good. I think you have to be very careful about what is included with it. Because I feel like they run the gamut on pricing.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different companies that offer it, but I think it's really important to read the fine details about what's included in the policy,
Mhm.
so that you know what it does and does not cover. My guess is that the properties insurance covers the property and not so much
Exactly.
anything else.
Exactly.
So you're not getting any insurance out of this. Like, it's not helping you. It's maybe it helps so that they don't sue you, because they could. Like, if something gets damaged, like someone drinks too much that night and drives from the parking lot into a tree there and it knocks down their tree, God forbid. But someone's going to pay for it. So I think that insurance is probably covering something like that. However, things like your vendors, somebody, you get sick or your fiance gets sick or anything like that, that's going to be an entirely different insurance policy, unless your venue is selling that kinds of insurance. Do you know any venues that do that? I don't know any.
No, I think that this is tricky. So and this is something a lot of you listening should really check with your venue about, because a lot of venues require what we call a certificate of liability insurance. They
Yes.
make you take out a 1-day insurance policy, which covers the venue
Yes.
up to $1 million in liability, meaning that if somebody sues, the insurance takes care of it. Nobody has to come out of pocket other than you, because you got your you paid for the
You
insurance.
paid for the insurance.
Now, what she's at, or what Alex is asking, and forgive me, Alex, I don't know if you're male or female, by the way, or what your pronoun is, but what this person is asking is if, in addition to this, they should get their own insurance. There's wedding event insurance, which is something I always recommend. It helps you in many cases, and you'll have to do some shopping around. Some wedding insurances cover you in the event that a vendor that you have paid for and given a deposit to, and even given final payment to, doesn't show up on your wedding day. Will help you in the case of sometimes floods, fires, things like that. Sometimes. Yeah. What I know that they don't cover anymore, they will not touch, is anything related to a pandemic, to COVID. So you're SOL there, babe.
Yep.
But it's always a good idea to get wedding insurance. I would really, really read the policy as to what the venue's limited liability insurance covers. I don't know if it would cover your guests if something happened. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a really kind of gray area. And there's always a possibility your guest could sue the venue, and it's very likely it's covering the venue if your guests sue, not covering you. Final thought, and I'll let you jump in here, Kelly, in a second. Final thought is, please, people, anyone listening, any vendor you book and sign a contract with, can you please ask them before you work with them if they have their own business liability insurance?
For real, though. Because a lot of people don't.
Because they're trying to save money. And, venues often require, it happens here all the time in California, in the Bay Area, venues will make sure that I am pooling copies of the certificate of insurance from all of the vendor team and submitting it to the venue. They want to see that they have this insurance. So yes, this is not a sexy thing, people, but like insurance, we need it. We have it for our cars. We have it for our homeowners. We have it medical, like insurance is important.
For all the things, So you want to get it from, like you said, you want to get it from your vendors. Your venue is covering themselves with theirs. For yourself, I think an insurance policy is great. But I really feel like you have to read that policy up and down to see what is included. So glad that you brought up it is not going to cover a pandemic and many things that you would just think that, oh, I'm sure it's in there somewhere. Nope, read it. And I know that most of the companies that do sell this, I mean, you can Google wedding insurance, and you're gonna be able to find it very easily. There's like WedSafe and what's the other one?
Wedsure, I think.
Yeah.
Even
like
Travelers. I had years ago, we had Travelers on the podcast. That episode gets so many downloads. I need to do a new one. You should do one on yours too.
Yeah, whether or not to get insured.
Yeah,
for sure. It's a very good one.
Yeah,
it's a very good one.
Yeah,
You want to
write that down?
We could do that one.
We could do it. We could get somebody.
I mean, it's not a sexy topic,
but it's so important.
But it's still, it's again another decision to make. And that's a part of your spending plan that you need to put in there as well. It's another line item. It's another line item. Another line item. I'm a fan of insurance. It's just like I want anyone who does purchase it to know what they're purchasing and what it's going.
Don't just go for the cheapest one.
No, and I know that they all come with different levels. It's much better now than like when you and I got married. There's so much more available to you, and you can get them so quickly and easily online. It's like same day. But yeah, I think we've all learned a lesson in the last few years, and you just never know what's going to come up. And especially if your wedding days are, you're putting a good investment into them financially. So if there's any opportunity there for you to for anything to be out of sorts, unfortunately, that would be one way to cover yourself. So
there you go.
I say yay for insurance. Yay. Again, I think this is our opportunity to say there's 3 different ones. There's your vendor's insurance that you want to make sure that they have, or your venue's going to ask to make sure that they have. Your venue's insurance that covers them, not really you, and then your own that you can get. So there's 3. 3 levels of insurance. That was a loaded question that she didn't know was going to have loaded.
I know it was a really short written question, but dang, we went off on that. It's important to save the best for last. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. And Alex is a she. I went back to look. She's getting married to Doug.
Oh, yes. Alex and Doug.
I hope she has fun at her camp weekend.
I know.
I kind of want to go to something like that.
I know. Okay.
Sounds relaxing and fun.
Well, Kelly, this was a very successful Yawa. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking me. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And I don't go and ask people questions for our show, but we invite couples on every once in a while. But I thought this was really fun to do. So thanks so much.
It's my pleasure. It also makes you feel good because you're like, oh, I know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'm going to tell you how you're going to find out.
Or, I just to be able to give an opinion, and not just, I like to, when I am planning weddings or someone asks me a question, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put myself in that person's shoes.
Right.
If I'm a guest, what I want to do, So, and I think it's a great way to approach almost everything. Put yourselves in those shoes. What would I want to have? So.
Well, thank you for spending the time. I'm going to let you get back to your sea of wedding planning because you've got a shit ton. It is 2022, people. And this wants me to thank Kelly extra thank you, because I know how busy you are right now. You're just like, your head is spinning. So this was probably a good little break for you. I'm happy you took the time.
It was. And I love podcasts. And so I appreciate that you asked me to be on your show. It was humbling. Thank you. Because you're a big deal.
Definitely want you back. All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.